welcome to. We are starting with GST 104. We'll just do the total summary of the whole course today. And welcome to our class. If you have any questions along the line, please let me know. And then hopefully we'll treat the course and then we'll finish everything about GST 104 today. The Lord is our strength. For those who don't know me, again, my name is Kevans, and I am a 100 level student of mass comm as well, just second semester. Now, what's GST 104 and what is expected of us from the course? Now, GST 104 is a 2-credit course, right? And basically, the main objective of GST 104 is to comprehensively learn about libraries and use of information, basically. So in today's class, we're going to learn the concept of library, various library services, how to develop a good reading habit, different types of library sources, then the organization or how library how materials are being organized in a library, then the use of ICT in the library, then copyright and plagiarism, then bibliographic citation and references. Now, at the end of the course, last we're expected to, or rather, Noun expects that every student that goes through this course is expected to identify at least sources of information. Then we should try to collect secondary information using the library. Then we should utilize that secondary information from the library for academic writing, and then manage information received from the library. Now, this course has 6 modules, and by the help of God, I've tried my best to summarize that 6 modules into 11 pages of into 11 pages, and hopefully we'll go through everything and finish it up this night. Please confirm again if you can hear me, so I won't be left out like the other day.
We can hear you.
Okay, cool. Now, first off, what is in this course, yeah, you remember in our examinations we used to have all this yes and kini. And I just thought, okay, maybe we should just treat everything that has the years and dates and kidney. Then we move into the course properly. Now, first of all, libraries existed in the pre-16th century. That was when libraries existed, and the early libraries existed as a collection, right, of written documents. So they said examples include the Library of Alexandria in Egypt. It has like the collections of private collections in ancient Rome. So during the ancient times, then they used to write in scripts. They weren't papers, right? And there was nothing online. It was not like you can go online and search for any information and get it. Everything that was written was either written in scripts or on scrabbles or on wood or on stones, right? And they started keeping all of those information. and that was how the library was formed. And again, it was library like the library began here during the pre-16th century. Now, what does pre-16th century mean? In the early times of, or rather before the 16th century, that's what pre-16th century mean. Now, in the 16th century, French settlers began to bring personal collections to North America, right? So things that they wrote then, they started bringing them to North America, and then in 1635, the oldest library, non-personal library, was founded in North America. So technically, the oldest library that exists, rather the oldest non-personal library that exists, was founded in 1635, and it is founded in North America. And where is it founded at? The Jesuit College in Quebec City. That's where this library is found at. Here. So the first library, 1635, founded at North America at the Jesuit College in Quebec City. Now, in 1935, Henry Evelyn Bliss created the Bliss classification, also known as the bibliographic classification of library. All this one, we will treat it later on when we reach the topic. But just keep it in mind that in 1935, the Bliss classification was devised. That was when the Bliss classification was created. And the Bliss classification is also known as the bibliographic classification of library. Please keep this in mind when we get there. Then we'll get to the topic, and then hopefully you remember that. Now, in 2004, the Scopus database was launched, and the Scopus is the largest abstract and citation database ever existed. Ever. 2005. Don't worry, all these ones that sound very, very strange, we'll treat them when we get to the topics. But please bear it in mind, all these ones are very, very important. Before you see them in your e-exam, and they will not know how to answer them. And then our course material was created, GST 105, this course material, that's use of library, was created and released in 2019. And that was it. Now to the course properly. I know that we've treated some of these things, but we'll just rush through, most especially the module 1. I know we've treated it, but we'll just go through, like more like a revision. Now, first of all, what is a library? Definition of a library. Now, the word library originates from a French word, library. Now, this word, library, was originated from a French word, library. It was originated, English, we call it library. French, library, right? Let me use brain. Yes. So, English, library. French, library. So, sometimes you hear people call it library, sometimes you hear people call it library. All is correct. And now, liber in Latin means book, right? Liber in Latin means book. And a library, or library as you may call it, is defined as an organized collection of resources Let me highlight it. So a library can be defined as an organized collection of resources dismiss, made accessible to a defined community for reference or borrowing. Now, libraries can be physical buildings, they can be virtual spaces, or both. Collections in libraries can come in different formats. So in a library, you can find different collections. You can find different formats rather of collections. You can find books in libraries. You can find periodicals in libraries. You can find manuscripts in libraries. You can also find films in libraries, ebooks, database, and a lot. So please don't have the misconception that it's only books that can be found in library. Not just books are found in library. Now, the concept of a library dates back to 1935. If you remember, I said the the first official library was founded in 19. That's the oldest non-personal library. Was founded in 1935. Sorry, 1635. Now, how was the oldest form of library founded, and how did it become the oldest form of library? First of all, in that library, they were collecting private collections and temple archives. If you remember the example I gave, I mean, they wrote. It was even more about uh it was, how will I call it? It was they were collecting religious books, temple archives, right? Where teachings that they write from the temple, and then they keep them in the library so people can access them. And that was literally how the library was established. And then one of the notable, or rather notable, historical libraries includes the Royal Naval Library, and it was founded in the 17th century. And then the Library of Alexandria the Great, founded in North America, and it is also known as the oldest non-personal library. And we said it's founded in the Jesuit College in Quebec City, North America, 1635. Now, there are types of libraries. First, we have academic libraries. What are academic libraries? Academic libraries are libraries, or libraries, as the case may be, that meet the information of staffs and students within an academic institution. So in a school now, any library you find in a school, technically, or basically, any library you find in a school, that's an academic library. So any library you find within a school setting or a school system is an academic library. Then what is a function of the academic library? Basically to support academic programs, which is also considered the heart of these institutions. And there's a time that not now, I don't know if they still do it now, but then I remember when, or I mean, I've read publications, or I've heard our parents, had conversations where they would say, then library schools were rated based on the kind of libraries they had. So the bigger the library of your school, the more materials the library of your school, that's where they believe your school is like the top, or a very good school. So good schools were, I mean, in the past, I don't know if that still happens now, but good schools then were classified majorly based on the type of libraries that they had. Now, we have research and special libraries. What are research and special libraries? These are libraries that provide specialized information, right, for specific purposes. It can be for specific organizations. It can be for industries. It can be for research fields. So specialized libraries. Let me say, for example, there's a library that only talks about football. So if you enter that library, you will not find anything else, only books or materials that relate to football. Or there's a library that talks about that only contains material about music. If you enter that kind of library, you only find music related contents. You don't find any other thing aside music related contents. Or there's a library that talks about construction or electricity. You only find specialized, all those specific kind of information in those kind of libraries. And those kind of libraries are very important because for most especially for research purposes. So when you want to look for specific information, you can go to a specific library, right? If you are looking for music related information, you can just go into a music specific or special library, and then you get that kind of information. Now, school libraries, that's the third type or category of library we have. Now, those are the ones we find in schools again. So schools and academic, they are literally the same thing, but please take note. Academic libraries are institutions, and there's a difference between an academic institution and a school. And academic institutions are universities, polytechnics, and colleges of education. Don't mix that. Then schools are primary and secondary schools. So school libraries and academic libraries are two different things. Academic libraries are found in universities. Let me even highlight it so you see it here. Academic libraries are found in universities, polytechnics, and colleges of education, while school libraries are mostly found in primary and secondary schools. And that's it. Primary and secondary schools. And these ones, I mean, you find them, uh, simple books that help children with reading habits, books that help children with to improve their vocabularies, books that they can use to do their assignments or classworks, and just basic reference materials, nothing too serious because of the nature of, I mean, pupils and students technically. Now, public libraries. What are public libraries? Public libraries are libraries that provide information to the general public. So they just have general information, and it is always open and accessible to anyone. And public libraries, right, are mostly established by or are managed most times by a community or a federal or state government. So anytime you see a library that is a public library, know that it is being funded and taken care of by a community, a federal or state government, technically. And most of the times, public libraries are open to everyone, and then they also provide basic services for free. So some information, or rather some activities that you go to some libraries and do and pay for them, you most times get for free in the public library. Now, what are functions of public libraries? Most times they use them to organize reading clubs. I know for a fact that there's a club in Abuja here. I don't know if everybody here is in Abuja, but yeah, there's a club in Abuja here, Abuja Literary Society. It's I know for a fact that they do book readings, they go to public libraries, they do what do they call it? Spoken words, Islams and all of that. And those are examples of clubs, reading clubs, and all of that, that or societies that you know come about because of um rather come about because of people who are enthusiastic about reading, and then finally the public library is there to serve them free of charge. Um, and in a public library, most times you have free Wi-Fi and all of those things. Literally, things that on a regular you pay for in private libraries or special libraries. Then we have finally national libraries. Now, national libraries are always only found in countries, right? And those kind of libraries are libraries where information about a country is being found. So things like the constitution of a country, you find them in that kind of library. So things that pertain to a country, you know, the history of that country, you'll find them in in that library. And then it acts like public libraries as rather national excuse me, national libraries they kind of act like depository and bibliographic center for the nation. So technically, things that relate to the nation. If there was ever a first national anthem, you will find that in the National Library. The first ever constitution to the current constitution in the National Library. So anything, the first president to the current president, you find it in the National Library. So things that relate to a country. If you go to Russia, you visit their national library, you find information that relates to the country in the national library. If you go to Ghana, it's the same thing. If you come to Nigeria, go to a national library, you'll find that in a library. Now, I don't know if all of us even know what a library is, but just in case you do not know what a library is, I'm coming. Let me see if we can find library picture. Ah, or just in case you do not know what the library is, I will just drop the picture of what it looks like. Maybe some people have never entered the library. I don't know. But while I get the picture, oh, and also one thing about international national libraries. Now, for example, right, the National Library of Nigeria, which has its headquarters in Abuja. By the way, you can visit it anytime you want to. Now, Nigerians, we have authors, we have publishers, right? People that write books. For example, the our course material was written by someone. Now, the National Library of Nigeria provides it issues international standard books numbers to publishers and authors. This is very, very important. So anybody that has written a book always has this number, this ISBN, and you always find them. Let me even see if our course material has it. It is always somewhere. Yeah, see it here on our course material, right? You see this number. It's not just written anyhow, this particular number. It is always issued by the National Library of the country. So now in this country, ISBN number is always issued by the National Library of Nigeria. Please keep that in mind. If you may see it in your exams. Then module 1, unit 2 of module 1, library services. Now, what are library services? Basically, library services are designed to facilitate academic work and researches um varying based of the library's objective. Now, this one is just like big English. Technically, library services are are services that we can get in a library to just ease users of the library. If you enter a library, there are different services that are being offered in the library. and let's say you go into a library and you're looking for something, you can consult someone working in a library, and the person will help you out quickly instead of you spending hours of doing it. Technically, that's a layman's definition of a library service. Now, but there are two major categories of library service. Now, there's the general library service, and then there's the personalized general library service. Two categories of library services. One is the general, and the other one is the specialized. Now, under the general, we have quite a number of services. Number one is the reference service. Now, what is a reference service? The reference service is more like personal assistance provided by librarians to users of the library. So if you go to a library and you need something, and then you find people that you can speak to, people that work in the library. Now, those people help you answer those questions or help you with your needs in the library. Technically, that's a reference service. Now, directional is another form of a general service. This is where, let's say, for example, in a library, you might see if you enter a library, for example, you might see it's a placard or a sign that says, okay, this row is for English books, this row is for mathematics books, this row is for engineering books. That's a directional, technically. You know the way we have road signs now. When you are driving, you see a road sign that says 300 kilometers to your left goes to Lugbe. If you make this turn, you are going to Soka. If you make this turn, you are going to Use. That's technically how a directional service is in a library. Then we have the ready/quick reference. Before I continue, please, can you hear me so I don't end up speaking to myself?
Yeah, we
Yes,
are
Please
please.
signify
hearing
you
you.
can hear. Okay, cool. Thank you.
I hear you.
Right. So now ready/quick reference. This right here is when you have like in fact a very basic explanation of a ready/quick reference is a dictionary, right? You know that if you want to look for a meaning of something, just go to pick a dictionary, you'll find the word and the meaning, right? Technically. So a ready/quick reference service technically answers specific and factual questions using sources like almanacs, dictionaries, and yearbooks. Almanacs, dictionaries, and yearbooks. Now, often at an information desk. Now, onto the next. I believe this is very, very easy and straightforward. Now, onto the next. Search questions service. Now, let's say, for example, you are looking for um um a recipe, or how do I'm looking for a perfect example. Okay, before then, the search question service provides background or general information on a topic. Now, let's say, for example, music, right? Now, if you pick or if you use the search question service in the library, you find a general information of what music is, how music came about, you know, and all of those things. And I don't know if any of you have used an encyclopedia before. There used to be a software then in computers, Encounter Kits and Encounter Encyclopedia. I don't know if you've used those softwares before. Personally, I used them in secondary school. then. So let's say if you are looking for an information about, let's say, the World War II, or um looking for an information about airplanes, aircraft, or just general information about cars, how cars were invented, and all of those things. Yeah, those are basically search questions service in a library, technically. So it just provides like background or general information, but mostly um most times through consultation. I think if you use encyclopedias, you might understand or relate more. Then the research questions. Now this addresses comprehensive research topics um by compiling extensive listings of relevant documents, and most times may refer users to experts. Now research questions, right? Um let's say again, for example, music, right? Now the study of music, let's say it was compiled, everybody that had a discovery rather about music, anybody that had a little discovery about music compiled their discovery, right? Or wrote down their discovery. And at the end of the day, you have piles of discoveries about um about music. Or let me just use cars for example. They wrote about um cars, right? Now, when you want to get information about cars, you go to um let's say you use the research service, and at the end of the day you might be referred to, let's say, a car dealer, or let's say a mechanic, or someone who has studied cars, or industry. You might be referred to an industry where cars are being produced, so that you get more specific um information, technically. Yeah, technically, that's it. Then we have vertical files. Now, vertical files are like, in fact, if you enter a library, anywhere you see things like timetables or maps or brochures, those are vertical files. And mostly, they are mostly for local inquiries. And what are local inquiries? Local inquiries are inquiries that are done within a country. If we say something is local, it means something within a country. If we say it is international, something outside the country, right? So local within the country, outside international outside the country, and vertical files are local files. So let's say map of Abuja, for example, is a vertical file, and you cannot go to a library in Ghana and find the map of Abuja there. You may find it, but I mean, it is technically useless. You may find it rather in a Nigerian library in Ghana, but not in a Ghanaian library. So those are vertical files, mostly to answer quick questions and local inquiries. We know what a census is now, or let's say a population of a country, for example, records of what the population of a country was, or let's say the population of Nigeria in 1960, in 1970, in 1999, in 2005, and now in 2025. All those ones, statistical services. Then current awareness services, CAS. This is very important. They might ask you, what does CAS mean? CAS means current awareness services. Now, what are current awareness services? These are services that keeps users updated with latest information in their fields of interest. So, if you're interested in phones, for example, if you're interested in iPhones, let's say, for example, you have information about the latest iPhone, what you should expect in the coming iPhone. If you have if your interest is on button phone, or is on clothing, or is on Vaseline or is on lipstick, you have information about the current lipstick, the lipstick that will be produced in 2025. If it is about films, you have current information about the latest film that has been released, the films that will be released, and all of that, basically. Then interlibrary loan services, and all of these are still under the general services of the library. Now, an interlibrary loan services. Now, let's say for example, you go to a library to borrow a book and they don't have that book. The librarian of that library can go to another library to borrow that book rather, and bring for you, uh, and then you would use the book. That's basically in lending services. The lending services, um, those are sorry, lending services are when you um the ability rather to borrow books from library, but then you don't take those books, you borrow them and then you return them to the library. Basically, that's what the lending services does. And you can't just borrow a book in a library. A stranger, you just walk into a library and borrow the book. First of all, before you borrow the book, you must be a registered user of the library. And then most of the times, um, uh, the library issues a borrower's ticket, right? And that ticket contains that's when you borrow the book, right? They will write a day for you to return the book. And when you don't return the book, you'll be fined um a particular fee. So if you borrow a book and they told you to return it today and you did not return it today, you return it tomorrow or on Saturday. For every day you miss, you might be charged a particular fine. Some libraries will charge you 100 naira per day, some will charge you 5,000 naira per day, depending on the kind of library. And reservation service. Now, what are reservation services? Let's say, for example, there is a particular book, or rather, there are particular books or materials that people always borrow. Anytime they enter library, they go borrow them. Anytime they enter a library, not like one person, or like that kind of book that people usually use in a library. If you enter library, you barely find it because people are always using it. Now, these libraries, when they realize that okay, these materials are heavily used materials, they try to keep it in a specific area, right? And then in that area, you cannot just go there to pick it. It's more like a private area. So you have to take the book on loan so that they know who is in custody of the book. And when the book doesn't get returned on a particular time, they fine you for using it because it's heavily on demand and you know people need it. Technically, that's the reservation service. Then user education. This service equips users with knowledge and skills. This equips users with knowledge and skills to effectively use the library sources. So let's say before you go to, you've never used a library in your life, and when you want to go to the library, or rather when you get to the library, you have someone in front of the library that teaches you that say, okay, if you enter the library, don't make noise. If you eat, pack it in a nylon, and you can't pick more than 5 books in the library. All those kind of things. That's some user education service in a library. Then library orientation. Those are like um um more like tour guides. Basically, they walk you around the library, and they show you, activities that can be done in the library and benefits of those activities. Then classroom instruction. Imagine that in our class, for example, we want to um uh or in our class, for example, they say, okay, we don't know how to use a library. Now, for anybody um uh that reads a book from the library, that person, or that reads a book about a library, that person will be given 1 mark. So it's a credit earning course technically integrated into the curriculum for teaching research method. So now, technically, this classroom instruction is what we are practicing right now by learning about library in GST 104. That's a perfect example of class instruction. Please, if you're with me or if I'm still online, please let me know. Please drop a message or say something. Let me know that you are still with me.
We
I'm
are
here.
with you.
Okay, I want to believe that everyone is here. Yes? Okay. Moving on then. Now, to the second category of library services. Don't forget, we said we have two categories of library services. One is the general. We've seen the general and all the subunits of the general. Then now the specialized. Now, um, yeah. So I think basically that's it about module one. So first off, in module one, quick summary. We saw what a library was. Um, where the word library or library originates from. Then we saw um, the definition of the library, and then the brief history of the library and types of libraries. And we've seen each type of library and their functions. Then down to the Unit 2 library services, where we just finished talking about general library services, and then all things that are under the general library services, and then specialized library services. Now, Module 2. Technically, Module 2 of GST 104 focuses on essential research skills. Now, Unit 1, information sources. Information sources in Unit 1. Now, what is information? Can anybody tell us what they think or what they believe information is? Nobody wants to tell us. Are you sure people can hear me? Anyways,
Yeah.
We can hear you.
okay, oh, it is well. Okay, first, we can't just go into the sources of information without knowing what an information is, right?
Yeah.
Now, information is knowledge or facts about something, mostly communicated through various means like words, pictures, or other forms. So, me speaking to you right now is information. Basically, that is information. And I even expect us to know what information is because we did a class, CIT 104, data and information. It is well. Now, information is crucial to all. To all. God will help me. Information is crucial to all human activities. Now, the sources of information are classified into three. First, we have the primary sources of information. First, we have the primary sources of information. Now, primary sources of information are original materials on which other sources of information are based. Now, let me make an example. I write a book, or no, let me say the president made a speech on television this morning, right? Now, someone that was in Aso Rock when the president was making that speech had the primary source of the information because the person was there and the person witnessed it firsthand. In simple terms, primary sources of information are first-hand accounts or evidence, direct evidence. First-hand accounts or direct evidence. Those are primary informations. Now, secondary sources, not primary information, primary sources of information, sorry. Then, secondary sources of information. What are the secondary sources of information? Secondary sources of information are interpretations, analysis, or discussions of the primary sources. Now, there's a writer. This course material has a writer, Abi. This is the course material that we are treating, right? Now, if it was the lecturer himself, or these doctors, Dr. Angela Okpala and Dr. Adam Gambo Sally, if they were the one that were teaching you, you are hearing firsthand from the writers of this course material. Those are the primary sources of this information. Now, out of the primary source, me being a student, I have created my own summary. And that's the summary I'm using to teach you. This is a secondary source of the information. Because now I've created a summary, and trust me, it's not like I have missed out on a lot of things, but I have cut out plenty English that they've used. I have summarized the plenty English into sentences for you. Now, you are not even reading from the primary source. This is a secondary source. Do you get? A perfect example is when you are watching something in French. Let's say people that love to watch K-drama, for example. You are watching your K-drama and then it is translated in English. Now, that translation is in English. I want to believe that that's a secondary source of information because they are not translating word for word what is being said from the primary source of information. Do you get? It's just like saying translate that thing that you said in Igbo in English. Sometimes you might find out that, okay, that thing that was said in Igbo does not have a direct translation in English. Rather, there's just a translation that fits into what is being said. That's like a secondary source of information. Then the tertiary source of information. We've treated this one, right? Then we have the tertiary sources of information. Now, um, good. Let me make another example that that can best explain this tertiary source. Now, we said the original writers of GST 104 are the writers themselves are the primary sources. Abi? Now, what they've written, we are reading it. That this is the secondary source, right? Then from the secondary source, we have created a tertiary source, which is our own summary that we are using to learn it. Do you understand? Well, hopefully you understand.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, I mean, basic examples are chronologies. What is big English? I really hope you understand what chronologies are. Let me just break down what these words mean in simple terms so we understand them. We are not just flying around. What's this? Gemini. Sorry, please hold on. Oh my gosh. Omo. People wey dey teach for primary school dey try you. They go dey shout from morning to night. I'm now thinking of people that have children, have like 5 children. Omo, you go shout tire. Alright, anyways. Now, what are chronologies? We just dey see am big English. Now, let's break down what chronologies are. Chronologies are like list of events in order of which they happened. Do you get? Now, an example is let's say the list of presidents of Nigeria from the first president to the current president with the dates that they entered office. So if they say write something in a chronological order, it means write it in order of which they happened. So the first president of Nigeria was this, and he emerged office in the year dash 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 dash. The second president of Nigeria was this, and the person emerged his seat as a president in the year dash 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 dash. Down to the current president of Nigeria is Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and he became the president of Nigeria in the year blah 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 blah. That is what a chronology is. An event or a list rather of events or timeline of specific things that happened within a period of time. So this word, this one here, this word, this English here is what we are explaining. This one here, I hope you can see it. This one that I highlighted. Now, what are bibliographies? How do I explain this one for us to understand? Now, let's say, okay, let me just use this perfect example. Let's discuss now just 104, right? Apart from this course material, this one here that we have right now, let's say these writers, the people that wrote this course, decide to update this. And let's say, excuse me, let's say they wrote another GST 104 that is more recent. They updated GST 104. Now they call it GST 104 version 2 or module 2. No, not module. Let's say GST 104 version 2. Now, let's say there has been GST 104 that was written in 1990. Another one was written in 2000. It was updated. Another update was done in 2005. Another update was done in 2019. Another update was done in 2025. Now, when you gather all of them together, all of them are GST 104, right? And they have meaningful information. And most likely your lecturers will use all of them to teach to you. Now, that's a perfect example of what a bibliography is. I don't know if you understand. I feel like that's the best way I can basically explain it. Now, what are indexes? Indexes is an alphabetical list of names, subjects, and topics mentioned in a book or collection of books. A perfect example. Again, sorry. After this list of things, yeah, they also have references to the page numbers that they can be found. And a perfect example of something like that is a dictionary. You know, words in dictionaries are arranged by names, by alphabet from A to Z, right? But now, a dictionary may not be seen as an index. References to page numbers, but it has page number. The Bible. I mean, for those who are Christians, in the Bible, if you open a hard copy Bible, you'll find you know books and their, let's say, books and chapters with their pages. Most of the time, you find books and chapters in their pages, and when you don't need to go so much. They say open to the book of John. You open the index, exactly. You open the index of the books and you look for where the book of John is, and then you now open the Bible to get the book of John. You get, that's just the most easiest way I can explain that. Then encyclopedias. I just want us to have a brief understanding of all these things so that we will not be seeing them as strange words. Now, an encyclopedia is a comprehensive reference work that provides information on wide range of subjects, most especially in a particular field. And also, it is typically arranged alphabetically. And then articles that are written in encyclopedias are generally concise and written by experts, right? Offering their overview on a topic. If you've used encounter kits before or encounter encyclopedia, then most likely you understand the meaning. I don't know how best to explain it. Mona Noves. Then directories. Directory is like file. You know file now? Like
Yes.
in fact, good, a perfect example. In primary and secondary school, I don't know if you recall, we had something called a register that they will carry it and come to the class. Most times it was blue in color. I don't know if everybody's school had a blue color register, but it was very big and blue in color. They will bring it to the class and be mentioning your name.
Mm.
Dorothy, Owabuosu, present sir. Kevin Nancy,
Present.
present sir. Precious, present sir. Alima, present ma. Yeah, that's a basic example of a directory. That's a very basic example of a directory. Now, let me read out the meaning of directory. Maybe you, I mean, I know you understand it, but if you are asked to, write a directory, how do you write it? Now, a directory is a list of names, addresses, and other details of people or organizations, typically arranged in alphabetical or classified order. Directories are designed to help users find contact information, services, or specific entities within a given category. Do we understand? I mean, hopefully we do. Now, unit 3, and we are talking about databases. What is a database? Can anybody help us? Let me be sure that you people are with me.
You want us to give our own,
Yeah,
like what we
your
understand,
understanding
or
of
should we? Yeah,
what you think a database is.
okay. It's an arranged collection of data. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. I can hear you.
It is an arranged collection of data stored and accessed electronically.
Okay. An arranged collection of data stored and accessed electronically.
Electronically.
Mm. That's a very perfect definition of a database. Now, a simple definition of database is simply an organized collection of information. I mean, you literally just defined it. And it can be accessed, managed, easily accessed, managed, and updated. Now, a good example of a database, very simple and good example of a database is the our contacts on phone. That's a very good, simple, and perfect example of the database. So our phone's contact, you know, it's first of all, it can be easy to access by you, Abby. Once you just open your contact card, you'll find all your contacts. Then you can easily choose to delete somebody's number and you can choose to add somebody's number. That's managing of your database, right? Then even after saving the person's number, if you realize that you did a mistake in the saving of the name, you can go back and edit the name, right? That's update of a database. Technically, that's a database. Now, databases are vital research tools, and it is defined as searchable collection of works. Yeah, it is defined as searchable collection of published works or an electronic. Anytime you hear electronic, most especially in this case, think of it as online or an electronic catalog or index. Databases provide reliable information from trusted sources and can be subject specific or multidisciplinary. What does it mean? There can be a database for only animals. And even in that animals, there can be a database for only ruminant animals, right? There can be a database for sports. And in that sports, there can be a database for only football. There can be a database for only swimming. There can be a database for only dancing, if dancing is a sport. And access to a database may be paid for by the library library or maybe free. Now we are looking at databases in relation to the course library. Sorry, please hold on. Let me get water. I think my throat is dry. Now I see why our lecturers they vex if you fail their course. They go don't come speak English, speak English, speak English, speak English. Mm-hmm. Now we know what it is. Sorry, I'm back. Now we know what a database is, and we know that we can access databases in a library. And most of the times, database in a library may be free or most times may be paid for by the library. Now, hmm, now this course material mentioned some examples of databases. Sorry, please hold on. Let me see how I can break this down real quick. Hmm? What module are we again? Module 2, right?
Yes.
Okay, I think I have a slight problem. Excuse me, sorry. But can you hear me?
Yes, you can hear you.
Oh, okay. Just want to be sure. Oh boy, where's my keyboard light? Uh-huh. We're in module 2, right?
Yes.
Aha. Now, okay. Now, a database, right? When I'm talking about a database now, we are talking about the database again in relation to libraries. Now, these databases help researchers to find reliable information from trusted sources, right? And they can be dedicated to a single subject or cover multiple subjects. Now, there are different types of database. There are different types of database, and number one is the academic. Okay, that's more like an example of database, not necessarily a type. Yeah, the academic research premier. That's an example of a database. And this academic research, please, this these things, they are important. I swear, I know that they will come out in our exams one way or the other. These things. Yeah. Academic search premier. Now, the academic search premier is a multidisciplinary database which has over 4,600 journals. It has over 6,400 journals. Damn, that's a lot. Oh boy, database. One is the multidisciplinary database, and sorry, we have three types, not two. One is the multidisciplinary database. The second is the subject specific database, and then lastly we have general academic database. Now, in the multidisciplinary database, that's where we have the multidisciplinary database is where we have the academic search premier, the JSTR, JSTOR, the Scopus, blah 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 blah. Now, those ones cover wide range of subjects, and they provide access to journals, books, and primary sources. I don't know if you understand. Then, specific subject database, Scopus. I swear, our lecturers might just decide to ask, what is Scopus? Specific subject database. Those are like database for that. I mean, that have specific subjects. For example, database that contains legal and business information. You know, medicine, health science, or we have examples like Agora for food and all of that. We have the ERIC database for education, right? Those are specific databases. Then we have general academic database, and general academic database offers a large multidiscipline full text collection, contains just general things, general subjects. Then Sage Journals offers both gold open access publication, blah blah blah, plenty English. Oh my god. Now, still under Unit 3, we have so this about these types of databases, right? I'll create a separate um I'll create a separate PDF that contains these these abbreviations and send so that we can go through them. I think we have a lot of them, and I don't think I would want to start, or should I just explain all of them?
I think you should create a different design, just like you said, because of time, so that
Okay,
you can
yeah,
use one
because
thing.
of time. Good. So I'll just create a PDF. Also, maybe someone should remind me after the class. So I'll create the PDF.
Okay.
So basically, that is it about database. So, and that is it about module 2 technically. Okay, so we have something okay, unit 4 of module 2, open educational resources. Now, Johnston in 2005 defined open educational resources, OER, very important. Don't forget it. 2005 defined open OER as the open provision for educational resources enabled by information and communication technologies for consultation, use and adaptation by a community of users. Oh, no swallow my head, oh mama. Enabled okay, use um where am I again? Okay, enabled by information and communication. This is what I'm reading, just in case you're trying to catch up with me. Use and adaptation by a community of users and um of, for non-commercial purposes. So basically, they are like places where you have more like someone is talking to me. It um those are like, places where you find information that are open, educational resources, right? That are open for to users for non-commercial purposes. Let's say a library that is open for free, that you can go and get educational resources. Or let's say a space. I don't want to use a library, not a library, a space that contains educational resources that you have access to it for free and it's not used for commercial purposes. Now, open let me just mark this real quick. Now, most of the times, open educational resources are digitized materials offered freely and openly for educators, students, and self learners to use and reuse for teaching, learning, and research. Typical example might be PDFs. Most of the times, open educational resources are are created most times in PDFs. Now, components of open educational resources. One are learning contents, and example of learning contents are courses, right? Some you can find free courses on YouTube, Udemy, um, Domestika, and all of those platforms. Then we have courseware. What am I saying? Courseware. Then we have modules. We have learning objects, collections, and journals rather. Then the tools we use for open educational resources are software supporting content development, use, reuse, and um, delivery. Examples are search tools like Google. You can use Google for free. Nobody's asking you to pay for Google, right? I think most of these AI tools, there's this one that people used to use on WhatsApp. Meta AI, for example, I think that's a general one on WhatsApp and Facebook. You use it for free. Nobody's asking you to pay for them. Then content management systems are examples. Then we have some um, examples of open access journals. We have the science and humanities, and then there we have things like agriculture, things that have to do with African Journal for Food is a free journal that is, found online. Agriculture, nutrition, and development is another journal. You know, blah 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 blah, plenty in English. For biology, we have International Journal for Biological Science, Open Biology, Open Life Sciences, and all of that. And then I think that is it for module
Two.
module two. Okay, there's one thing we left out in module two, which is literature review. I did not include it in this particular PDF, but let me just explain briefly what it is before we go into module three. Now, literature review is defined as a crucial analysis of summary of all available literature related to a research topic. Now, the purpose of a literature review, right, is to help researchers choose appropriate topics, to prepare research plans, formulate objectives and hypotheses, and design suitable methodologies and data collection instruments. All this one will sound like big English till you reach 400 level and you are asked to write a research work. That is where you will come back to this course to do literature review. Now, there's what we call literature. There's the steps of conducting a literature review. First step is literature identification. This involves getting familiar with resources or database that you use for to create to organize or create bibliographies. Then second step is analyzing the literature. What you've when you've done your literature identification, identify or rather analyze the literature. Third step is synthesizing the literature. This involves reorganizing all the notes that you've written. Then you create like a topic outline, then presenting your arguments with narratives from gathered literature, right? Um, that's synthesizing the literature, and finally writing the review. It's the final step of that focus on structuring the review itself. That's whatever it is that you wanted to write. Then justifying the importance of what you are writing, distinguishing research findings from other information, then citing references. That's writing your references accurately and maintaining a clear, cohesive, and well organized essay with subheadings so that it is easy for people to read. We are done with two modules. Now we are module three. Should we continue? Should we finish it up? We have just 4 more pages to go. Should we finish it up or should we continue tomorrow?
I think we should finish it up so that we know we are done with this course.
Oh yeah, now no wala. Yeah, I do it now. All right, all right. Let me talk like very dark man. Module three. I think module three was this. Sorry, please hold on. Oh jeez.
Hold on.
Okay. Module three, which talks about library catalogs. Now, what is a library catalog? Let me color this green. Good. A library catalog is a complete organized record of all library contents. As simple as that. And a library catalog is always found in a library or group of libraries. So, simple definition, a library catalog is, in fact, thank God for this. A complete organized record of all library library contents. Now, this library catalog functions like a book index. You know the way I explain what an index is, right? That's an example of how a library catalog functions. So it directs users to the exact location of a book in the shelf. And then most times, right, in a library, the librarians provide various access points, right? It can be written like I made an example earlier on. Um, you can see an access point that points to the direction of where books that relates to mathematics are written, or books that relate to a particular author. Books that relate to mathematics are written, or books that relates to a particular author is written, and all of that. That's yeah, that's it for that. Now, um, now there are different physical forms of library catalogs. First of all, there's what we call access points. Access points are things like the author of a book, the title of a book, the subject of a book, or the ISBN number of the book. And you recall when we talked about the ISBN number, and we said it's the National Library of Nigeria that provides the ISBN number of every book in this country, right?
Yes.
Now we have um different physical forms of a library, and all of them have their advantages and disadvantages. Number one is the book catalog. Now, everything that has to do with the catalog of a book of the library, talking about the book catalog now, is written in a book format. So if you want to find information about where books are kept, information about where materials are kept or located in a library, everything is written in a book. Do you understand? That's the book catalog. And this is said to be the oldest type of listing books in a library. Now, it is easy to use, right? That's an advantage of it. It is easy to use. It is cheaper to duplicate. If you have one, you can just photocopy it, and that's it. But then the problem with it is when there's an update in a library, for example, when they add more books to the library, yeah, or when they add more material to the library, they can't add to the book. They have to create another book and update it and renumber it and all of that. They get, and that was the disadvantage of the book format. Then now the card format. Entries on individual cards, blah, oh Jesus. English. Now, this is basic. Now, in a library, sometimes, like, how do I explain the card format? Now, when you go to cabinets, yes, cabinet trays in a library, right? You'll find cards that are filed alphabetically. So you see A, B, C, D. If you open D, for example, all the books, or rather, um, materials that starts with the letter D, you find them there. They get. So letter E, for example, can be for English, engineering, electronics, anything that has E on it. So if you are looking for a material that starts with the letter E. Once you go, if you are able to locate the shelf or the cabinet or the aisle that starts with the letter E, you can find all books that starts with a letter E in that. Now, um, what are the importance? It offers flexibility and currency for updates, right? What does it mean? Currency for updates. You can easily update things there. Highest is still letter E. You can bring another book and add to it. It doesn't change a thing, right? And if you move the books to another shelf, it's very easy. You just carry the card and move it to where the new books are, and that's it. Very, very easy. Now, the problem with doing the problem with the card catalog is it can take up so much space when the collection begins to grow bigger, right? And you cannot view two cards at the same time. You can only view one. So, and then from there we go to okay, I didn't write it here. There's what we call the microform catalog. These are photograph card catalogs or screen images transferred into a microform. How do I explain what a microform is? Okay, I'll find a picture and drop it in the group. And then finally, we have the online public access catalog, OPAC. This one, they can ask you in your exam. What is the full meaning of OPAC? It means the online public access library. That's the meaning of OPAC. Now, the OPAC is an electronic catalog, basically. And most time, this is like the most modern and efficient form of storing materials in a library, and most times it is stored in a computer, right? So you can just open the computer and search for GST 104 and immediately it will pop up. Straight and easy. Very, very easy. So this time around, it helps. The importance is you don't need to use so much space, like physical space in the library, right? To store books and information and all of that, blah, 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 blah. But then, but, but then, the disadvantage, sometimes, if you do a spelling error, if you do a spelling error, you might not um you might not find what you are looking for. Do you get? You might be looking for a book and you might not do a spelling error and you will not find it. It's like um it's sensitive to spelling. And then another problem might be it might retrieve too much information. So if you type GST 104, it can bring up all the GST 104s that ever existed. Now you need to know the specific. Sometimes you need to know the specific type that you are looking for. It's just like when you want to buy shoe and you go to a store and they tell you and you go and tell the person, "Oh, I want to buy a Nike shoe." Now you know that deep down, um, inside you is the Air Jordans that you want to buy, but you did not tell the storekeeper, or rather, you are not sure how the Air Jordans is being is being written or provided, or what it looks. You only know what it looks like. Now sometimes you need to Cindy, please come and help me here. I don't know how. Now, sometimes you need to know the specifics of what you are looking for, right? So if you are looking for an Air Jordan, for example, you just write Nike Air or you just write Nike. All the shoes that Nike has ever written up, did I say written, produced or made are there till you finally get to see, oh, the specific type that you're looking for. Now that's like a disadvantage when it comes to this the OPAC, that's the online public access. When you search a thing, you can have different materials and different sources until you are really sure of what you want before you most likely get it. Then that's it for unit one of organization of library material. So let's not forget access points. That's ways that um materials are organized in a library. One is the access point, two is the physical form. Access point, two is the physical form. Then three is the catalog, and then we have the online public access catalog. Then we have classification schemes, which is unit two of module three. Now, what is classification schemes basically is more like emphasis on the importance of library classification. Now, it is more like a systematic way of arranging numerous library sources or resources rather to maximize their utility and facilitate easy retrieval, saving time for both users and staff. Now, classification aims to create order from disorder and provide comprehensive view of documents on a given subject. So, the library classification schemes are systematic methods of organizing library materials, most likely by subject or assigning unique call marks, right? Most likely by subject or assigning unique call marks. Like I used to make example, um, they can arrange the hell shit. I think I have an issue. Yeah. So they can arrange by subjects. You can go to a library. I think my library then in school, they used to arrange it by subjects that we studied. So you go to A, you start seeing subjects that has letter A. E has English, further maths, this, that. You go to F, you have further maths, and you go to M, you have mathematics. If you have to be basic science, all those things like that, like that, like that. That was how it was arranged. So that's like more like a classification scheme. Now, what are the importance of this classification scheme? Really, it's just to help users find materials easily, technically. Now, we have types of classification schemes. Number one under the types of classification schemes are Library of Congress Classification Scheme, in bracket LC. Now, this is widely used in academia. Now, Open University uses this one main classes, which is letter A to Z, and it uses a mixed notation of letters and numbers along with quarter numbers for individual authors, which together form the call number of a book. So, for example, um, um let's say uh you go to a library, right? And then you have on a sticker or on a placard, it is written General A. It will write letter A, um, General Works. Now, you under General Works, you have materials that relate to general work and co under A. Then you can have A1, for example. A1 is materials that have that relate to general works, but maybe relate to it that are produced or written by a particular author or company. Then you can have A2. Let's say, for example, A is all about English, for example, Abi, in a library. Then A1 is English that is written by Macmillan. A2 is English that is written by Tell Magazine. A3 is the same English that is written by, um, let's say, Halima, for example, right? That's the basic example of Library of Congress classification. Then, secondly, we have the Dewey Decimal classification. This is where we're at. This is widely used globally, including in public and school libraries. Divides knowledge into 10 main classes. So I think I've seen a library that uses the Dewey Decimal classification. I can't just remember where. Let me see if I can find an image and share so that as we are learning, we are understanding it. As we are learning, we are understanding. Aha, I think I found something. So in a Dewey, from number one to number 100 is English language books. From 101, yeah, my secondary school library then uses that type too. In we had two libraries then. In the secondary section or the secondary side of the library. Number one to number 100, for example, is English language books. Number 101 to 150 is story books. Number 151 to 200 is mathematics books. Like that, like that. That's the Dewey Decimal classification, basically. Basically, that is it. Then we have the Universal Decimal classification. Um, this is a more detailed and versatile. It is this particular type is always most seen or often used in special libraries. Then we have the Bliss classification. That's bibliographic classification. This was devised by Henry Evelyn Bliss. The Bliss classification was devised by Evelyn Bliss. Uko. And it is primarily used in British libraries. And it features 35 main classes, 9 numerical, and 26 alphabetical. Please, all these things, I really wish that we can, let's say as we are learning them, you can even try your best to go online and search for images or videos so that you can better relate and understand them. Then we have the colon, that's the colon classification. And this was developed by S.R. Ragatham. Eh? Did I? S.R.
Continue, please.
Ranganathan. Oh my god. S.R. Ranganathan. Oh boy. A person name be this.
Yeah.
Ranganathan. Anyways, anyhow, I take column. Known for his versatile approach, allowing for detailed and precise classification based on different aspects. It could be personality, matter, energy, space, and time. Basically. Then there's one again that I didn't write. It's the Moist classification system. And the Moist classification system, most times academic libraries commonly use it, specifically for classifying law materials, as it addresses the shortcomings observed in the Library of Congress classification scheme, LC. That's the KLOS class. And that's it. We are done with module 3. And now to module 4. Well done, well done, guys. I'm surprised that we are not tired yet. Please, let's just finish it once and for all. We'll soon be done. We'll soon be done. Module 5, ICT. That's the use of ICT in the library. I think, should I share? I think I should share the course material in the. Did I say course material? I think I would share the summary, this summary, in the group so that we can use it to study. But this one that we are studying now, exam, I don't even know when we are writing this exam. I think when we are done with our when we are done with our when we are done with all the course materials and we still have time left, then maybe we can come back and start revisiting the
We are,
individual
we are writing the
course
exam
materials again, hopefully, so we don't
on
forget. All right,
26th.
without waste of time, the use of ICT in the library. Now, first, before moving further, right, the aim of this particular topic for this in this module, or rather, the aim of this whole module, is to help us as students to become proficient with modern and efficient methods of handling library operations, right? I know most of us have always been to the conventional library where it's always just books. I mean, maybe very few of us have used libraries where you have to get information from computers and all of that. Now the um this module is divided into two, and we are starting with the first one, which is digital libraries. How did I skip unit 1 to go to unit 2? Okay, let me just take from my notes. Now, digital libraries. What are digital libraries? Technically, digital libraries is the rather a digital library or a concept of a. I will add it to this thing, please. Maybe somebody should remind me so I don't forget to add it to this PDF,
Summary.
so that we'll have everything. I don't like that we have just. Okay, let me just add it quickly before I forget, so I don't forget, please. Sorry, guys. Is this what module are we again? Module 4, right?
Yes.
We're module 4, Abby.
Yes.
Is someone hearing me? Abby, am I speaking English to myself?
We are in module 4.
Please let me know if you can hear me, people of God.
Hello, can hear you.
Ah, okay. This one there's no response. Okay, there's no response. I'll just move on then. But I need to be sure that someone is hearing me.
We can hear you.
Hello, we're speaking. Can you hear us, rather?
Okay, can you please drop a message in the group if you can hear me? Just drop anything, an emoji of how you are feeling.
Evans, we are SC. You're just coming. Good evening.
Please, if you can hear me, please kindly drop an emoji so that I would know so I'll continue. Okay, that's fine. Okay, now again, a concept of a digital library. I don't think I like the fact that how did I not add this? Okay. I mean, I will add it and share it with you. But then the concept of a digital library, right, is is defined as an information, right, or an information service or a collection of electronic information or resources where all library functions, we are talking about acquisition, we are talking about storage, we are talking about preservation and retrieval, right, are performed using digital technologies like computers and network. Do you get? In fact, in our Noun, we have something called the e-library, where you can go to the e-library and then just grab your course material just by typing the course title. I don't know if any of us have used it. But yes, we have an e-library Nouns e-learning portal. That's the concept of a digital library. Now, why did they shift from the traditional library to digital library? Now, traditional manual library system faced challenges, right? Such as limited storage space for growing collections. So if a library was built which is it was already built, and then we are now having content of we are now having more books or more materials, and there's nowhere to store them. That was an issue. And also uh um, it was really really difficult to organize plenty to organize materials or organize amounts of vast amounts of information due to information explosion. That's too much information, and it's always time consuming because it's a manual process. So if they bring books to a library, for example, God, I think that's once happened in when I was in my tertiary institution. They brought books to the library, and then you have to sit down and start sorting. This book is engineering, this one is computer science, this one is coding, this one is this one is that, this one is that. And it was always time consuming, manual and tasking. Right. And that was the reasons for the shift from traditional libraries to digital libraries. Now, what are the benefits of digital libraries? Number one, global reach. Now, there are libraries that are online that literally you can access any information, whether local or national or international catalog. You can grab it online and use it anywhere you are. So far, you just have internet connection. You get that's like a major benefit of a digital library. And there's the anywhere, anytime access. So you can access it anywhere, anytime. Simultaneous access. Multiple people can access it at the same time. Unlike the conventional physical library, where if you pick a book, okay, let's say we have 5 books on GST 104. 5 of us pick the book. If the sixth person comes, he either has to share the book with another person or wait till you're completely done using the book before they use it. Then we have rapid delivery. I mean, this way information can be delivered quickly. In fact, information can be delivered on demand, saving time and geographical barriers. A typical example is ChatGPT. If you ask ChatGPT a question, ChatGPT is actually pulling out the answer of those questions directly from a source. Do you get? It's pulling it out directly from the source and giving you an answer immediately. So that's like a typical layman example of rapid delivery in a digital library. Then we have flexibility. Users can choose what format they want to access their information. You can download this same course and maybe what in a Word format and all of that. You can download the same course picture by picture, somebody's screenshots, and you'll be scrolling from screenshot to screenshot to read that one day. And then you can also download the course through PDF. Flexibility. Then elimination of loss. Now, most of the times, library contents that are all contents of digital libraries are stored in a cloud storage. Now, those files will never get lost. Never. They will never get lost. Except if you don't have access to them. You've lost access to them. Or you deleted them from cloud, but they never, ever, ever, ever lost. Oh my god. Then finally we have improved user satisfaction. Digital libraries have reduced costs and provide instantaneous all-time access to information, enhancing user experience. To be honest, the information we had now, it was not there like 15, 20 years ago. If you needed information, in fact, imagine people now write final year projects or research works with just your computer and one or two online AI tools. Then you have to go to a library. In fact, I remember someone that traveled all the way from Lagos to ABU Zaria just to use a book that is found in the library of ABU Zaria because he was writing a research note. Do you know how hilarious that may sound? But that was actually a thing then. Do you get? But then digital libraries they've helped us with that. Now, what are the challenges of establishing digital libraries? Now for people who you know live their life going to a physical library, they find it hard to attend or to use the digital library, most likely because maybe they do not have access to the internet, they don't have mobile phones and all of that. And then the digital library keeps updating it keeps getting better, and because it keeps getting better, it keeps requiring new sets of hardwares and softwares, right? And it requires some level of expertise first of all to own those softwares or hardwares and then to use them. Then funding. I mean, digital libraries are really, really difficult to fund. It's a lot of work. Oh my god. I'm so sorry about that. Then copyright issues. Now this the copyright issues, just like ChatGPT for example, you ask Chat to provide something for you and it will provide, and you might think that at some point it's an original idea. I mean, it may be an original idea, but most times it picks off, it tries to feed off sources over the internet that has, same information. And then we have skill requirement. Both the library staffs and the users of digital libraries, they often need some skills to properly collect, organize, and retrieve digital content. Interface and design. Digital library interfaces needs to be user friendly for easy understanding, flexibility, and robustfulness to ensure universal and efficient access. Then now we have what we call um the computer-based literature search. Finally, we are done with the unit one. I'll make sure I add it to this PDF before I send it to the group. Now, what is a search strategy? First of all, we here it is written computer-based literature search, right? There's no. Hey, whoa, where are we? Oh? Okay. Aha. Now, a search strategy is a structured organization of terms used to search in a database. I don't know how to explain it. Now, it is defined again as a structured organization of terms used to search a database effectively. So now, if you want to search for something in a database, it's just like a piece of instruction of on how to search and get information from a database technically. Now, we have constructing an effective strategy. Constructing an effective search strategy is crucial for retrieving optimal requests. Now, what are the steps to construct a search strategy? Number one is define your topic. Define your topic. Clearly state your research question. For example, what are the impacts of policies to tackle water pollution in the United Kingdom? That way, you will get materials that help answer your questions. In fact, you can even try it. Search a question on ChatGPT. It gives you references, or just after it gives you the answer, try and ask for references. Right now, that prompt, for example, that you use to search is what we call it's more like an easy way of defining your topic technically. Then number two is choosing your keywords, identifying core concepts from your topic, e.g., policies, right? Pollution and United Kingdom. So when you were writing this, let me highlight it. Now, when you were writing this prompt, what are the impacts of now policies, right? Here, you can see it there. Pollution, that's the problem. Then the location, United Kingdom. So if you choose the right keywords, you get the right answer. Now, identify alternative terminology. Okay, this is what we are reading. Brainstorm synonyms, broader/narrower terms or related concepts to your keywords. So now, for example, legislation, for example, legislation can stand in for policies. Law can stand in for policies. Do you get? Then, for example, again, water pollution. We can use water contamination to get information about water pollution. We can use water impurity to get information about water pollution. Now, combining your keywords, use Boolean operators and or not to refine your search. I mean, there was the early times of AI. all these AI uh platforms, that when you are searching or when you want to make a query, you need to include these. If you are looking for answers for a query, like you need to include these in order to get the perfect answer. Now, what does and mean? And narrows results requiring all terms to be present, or broadens results requiring any of the terms to be present, and not excludes specific terms from results. Now, what are the examples of using or, for example? You can say UK or United Kingdom or Great Britain. Now you are giving it, lots of options to choose from. Then we have and. I'm sorry, and. Now, and is, basically joining two things together. So we can say water pollution or water contamination and policies or law. Do you get? Then we have the and itself, where it can be, UK and United Kingdom and all of that. Now, there's what we call the wild card. It is used for alternative spellings, technically. Technically. Now, search operators, for example. Oh, sorry, where are we? Okay, we just finished this. Now, limiting is more like using filters. If you want to limit the amount of information you want to get, you can say get information from uh 1940 to 1945. So you don't need any information. You might have, or let's say, for example, the richest man the richest man in Nigeria from 2005 to 2006. If in 2025 I am the richest man of Nigeria, because of that query and that query of using dates, I may not appear because I maybe was not rich in 2005 and 2006. So that's using filters. So filters can be in date range, it can be in language, it can be in type of document. Then choose one of them.
Kevin, hello? Felicia, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, I think it's probably his network then.
Yes.
If you can hear me, please confirm if you can hear me.
We can hear you now.
Why can't I hear you guys? Or maybe please just drop a message in the platform or something. Okay, you can hear me now, right? Okay, that's fine. Please, at what point did you stop hearing me? Maybe someone should try and use their mic and see if I can hear you. Okay, stop hearing at the meeting. Okay, let me just rush through. Wow, I was already at module 5. Okay, no wala, let's go. Now, limiting using dates, language, or document type to narrow results, right? Let's say you are looking for a document, and just say type of the document you are looking for. is a PDF. Now, when you search, bring it to your, that helps you out with the search. Because most likely, what you are searching for has the word document that you don't understand that is. Let's
Kevin,
just
your
say you
mic
are
has issues.
the president of the word document. Now, that date, like, right, um, where you get your that result. Let me guys. So yeah, if today I'm president of Nigeria, I won't show when ask for president of Nigeria, but it narrows down to that country the story. Then now choose that of the group that are taking that of the group. Secondly, set the process of this application of what of the group. So then we have to use the program to test for exact thing, right? So some always look for alternatives for this to decrease the variable. And we have scholarly research that like academic to Google Scholar, like other social like
Fuchsia, can you hear him?
social management, things like that. Like
I
different,
can't do. I can only hear him. Like he's far from his
yeah,
system.
blah 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 blah. It's supposed to allow
A
you
bit.
to more digitize the their own stuff. This group, oh, I'm a bit far from. Can you hear me now? Please, can you hear me now?
We can
Yes.
hear you now, but then we stopped hearing you for a while.
Okay. Esther, let me know if you can hear me.
We can hear you now.
Yeah, okay. Now we are in
But I think you
unit 5,
I
which
think
is
you I think you have to go back to that
but
limiting. That is where you
during
start
the course of the
hearing.
classes, did you have any audio issues or are we just having the audio issues?
It's
We are
just
just
now, but
having
can
it now.
Okay, I can't listen to anyone. I don't know why at this point. Um, okay, just now. No, wala. Oh yeah, now. So, but I think I'm glad you can hear me now. Okay, let's just move on real quick so that we'll wrap it up. I want us to be done by 12. So we'll just call it a day. Um, module 5, good reading habits. Now, first of all, um, ah, um, what are good reading habits? Um, First, basic study techniques slash methods, which is the unit one. Um, which says effective studies requires planning and tested methods. Now, what are these good study methods? Number one is making it making and keeping a study schedule. So it's very simple, just like we here now. We've said, okay, every day by 9 p.m. we're gonna have classes. That is like a good reading habit. So we are setting aside specific daily hours for reading and also to and adhere to the schedule. So we say some of you people have not been adhering to this our schedule. We will say lecture starts by 9:30, everybody has come online. It's well with our school. Then studying in an appropriate setting, choosing a conducive um environment to study, you know, maybe in a library, some of you, have study rooms. Uh, it's if you can, please study with study rooms or in quiet places and all of that. And it's always important to maintain a consistent study location, right? Like me now, when I'm reading in my house, if I'm in my house, I have a desk where I sit down, like I read. I cannot read in the bed. Anytime I'm on that bed, if I finish, I'm gone to La La Land. Yeah. Then picking your study area. Now, in a study area, at least you have all necessary material, textbooks, resources, pens, and other stuff. And then most of the times, please try to put phones on silence. I know some of us, even while in classes, they will just say, oh, one notification just came. Look, let me check it small. Before you know, ah, you have missed out on um what is being discussed in class. Then we have um what we call the SQ3R reading method. Before then, there's also another method of reading, right? It's not relying on inspiration or motivation. You don't need to be motivated. You want to something you have to, or someone has to motivate you for you to start reading. Uh, I mean, Also having an orderly reading desk is really really important. Then taking notes as insurance against forgetting. Effective note taking during lectures and self study is vital, really 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 vital. For quick review, before tests and exams and all of that. I mean, it eliminates the need to read the entire course material. Me like this, I don't know, for some weird reason I don't know why I believe that none of us here is taking it. We are just attending the class. Hopefully it is not the same with our cases. Then uh yes, now to the SP3R reading method. Now, this SP3R reading method as is a proven method for active reading and comprehension. This one they said it is tested and trusted. Tested and trusted. Now, this is a structured reading formula designed to improve processing and retention of written information. And it consists of 5 steps: SQ and then 3R. So it's SQ triple R. Basically. S means survey. Where are we? S means survey. You remember we did something like skimming in our first semester. I'm very, very sure we are aware. Now, it is the survey is more like skimming the text or skimming through, the material to get an overview, looking at the little titles, the heading, just skimming through the introduction, conclusion, and the summary. Yes, and also looking at reviewing questions after the test. It helps us. Then the Q stands for question. Ask questions, review questions at the chapter's beginning and end, and ask if you are lost somewhere, ask. Know what your instructor said, or know what your teacher or lecturer is saying, and then that's for question. Then R, the first R is read. Actively read, seek answers to your own questions. If you don't have anybody to help you and answer them, then try to pay attention to, bold, utilized words. That's while I'm teaching here, I'm trying to make sure that I highlight some of these things. So it's graphic aid. It just helps us it helps the eyes, it helps the brain with a little bit of retention. Then it's not a bad thing to reread on clear parts. So you read something and you're not clear what it said. Please reread it. Then recite. After reading a section, try to put it in your own words. You get everything that you've read, just try and put it in your own words. Orally try to summarize what you've written. Then, just like that. Or you can even try to highlight the important points. You get that way you learn faster and better. Then the last one is review. Recite. And then we have review. Now, regularly review the material to understand and remember it. That's why I was pleading that God's willing, if we're able to finish up our courses, the summary of all the courses, we cannot take our time to come back and start reviewing, the ones like this one on just 104 that we did today. I know a lot of us will forget it after like 2 days. So try to come back just to brief summary. Because then hey, I said number. Oh my god, this is where we test it. Okay. Then now unit 2, developing a good reading habit. Now, how do we develop um good reading habit? First of all, cultivating a strong reading habit. Honestly, is a lifelong skill. Now, what are the strategies for developing? I think I'll just what are the strategies of developing um good reading habits? Number one, start with short and engaging read. You know, just start it easy. Don't need to rush it. Don't try to consume everything at once, just like we are doing today. We are trying to consume a whole textbook with how many pages again? 119 pages is what we have consumed in 11 pages, and we are trying to dissect them into our brain. I know many of us, after we go to bed today, we forgot that we have even taken just one. Now, secondly, is setting weekly or daily goals. I mean, when we are setting these goals, let's try to be realistic as possible with goals. One chapter per day or one novel per day. When we first initially started the classes, I was trying my best to see how we could do 1 unit per day of this course. But then I realized that we were out of time, and that 1 unit per day will not take us. Then find a dedicated place and designate a conducive or favorite corner and a regular time for reading. So once it's time, drop your phone, pick up your book. If it's your computer, pick up your computer, then you start reading when it's time. When we say, classes start by 9 p.m., oh, don't come by 10:30, come by 9, start immediately, like that. Download a news aggregator. Hmm. This one go hard, but okay. Following online blogs, newspapers, and magazines, organizing content, blah blah blah. Let's see. Then um now there's another one I did not add to the course material, which is deciding not to read, right? So sometimes while academic reason is compulsory, sometimes entertainment reading for entertainment is also key, and reading for entertainment should involve topics of personal interest and all of that. Some people like reading novels, some people like reading blogs, magazines, just related hobbies. Sometimes even talking to friends. Then I'm creating a reading list. Please, it is important that we plan future reading and maintaining a list of time to do. Just like the way it's created a timetable for us to study, which we are not able to live in right now by the way. So it is well with our soul. Then we have unit 3, the final unit of unit 5, which is handling examination. Now, preparing for preparing what am I saying? Preparation and strategy are key to successful examination. Right now, we are saying we said we are preparing for examination. That's why we created this summary, and then we are taking classes. I want to believe mostly is because we are preparing for examination. Now, steps for exam readiness. Start early. Number one is to start early. Begin studying well in advance of the exam date. Well, we might stay retired early, but not early enough. But thank God, we start early. Then sort out subject materials. Organize all our handouts, your handouts, course materials, and notes, and all of that. And then that will also help you. Use past questions. Aha. Familiarize yourself with exam. All these things are very, very easy. Join study groups. This is a study group. We are a study group. That's why we are. We are here having classes by 11:55 p.m. Then know your exam venue and time. So, I want to believe all of us are in Soka. We know the venue, and sometimes you can even. I remember when we first wanted to write our first semester exams. We know the venue, but we don't know. Uh, we know the venue, but we do not know the particular hall in the direct. It is very, very important that you know the venue and time of the examination. And yes, and also when you are writing exams, come early for exams. All these things are things that we know. Then finally, once you sit on the computer, or if it is POP, pen on paper, please maintain absolute ease and composure. Right? Don't panic. Avoid, me sometimes that excessive discussion that they are saying you should avoid is what keeps me. But no go gist so much that you forget what you read, and then try as possible to eat light breakfast. Me personally, I don't eat anything. I try to write my exam first. Right. Uh-huh. Once I eat, I sit down on top the exam, sleep will just catch me. But people that cannot deal with hunger, don't eat heavy food, please, or something like. Then also use reading time wisely. Read all instructions carefully. Scan the entire paper or scan the entire screen that you're using to write the exam. Uh, It will evaluate the mark distribution and then also allocate the time that you use to answer everything effectively. Then interpret questions well. Me, I'm a victim of this interpreting questions well. So I will read the questions and sometimes my brain will want to answer it, forgetting that I have not even understood the questions. And guess what? I answer it with my brain. The only thing that helps me most times is after answering it with my brain, after doing what my brain wants, and then I'll come back to my normal senses. And then I go through everything I've answered again. I will not realize the mistakes I've made. So for me, knowing that I have the issue of interpreting questions well, I try to go through my questions twice. Even as after answering, right? I'll come back to it and then I'll carefully try to decode the questions and see if yes, my answers are correct. Which is what I do here, reviewing your answers. So after answering, try try to review your answers. And most times you can only have the time to review your answers when you finish, when you try your best. Eh? What did I just do? Sorry, please hold on. I think I did. Okay, I made a small mistake here. So don't worry, I'll just fix it ASAP. Sorry, guys. Hey, Chineke, how did we end up here? Okay, I think we're back. Ah, what a big. Okay, I think we're okay now. So you can only review your answers on time when you finish it, and then you and also you start with the ones that uh you start answering the ones that you're most confident about. Then you go back to the least confident, and then you try to answer them. Then finally, this is the final module, and we're on page 10, which means we are technically done. For people that stayed up, congratulations, we made it this far. Now, module 7, Abby, sorry, module 6. Now, this topic is actually very, very important. Now, what are copyright laws and what are intellectual property rights? Now, intellectual property rights are legal rights, right? Granting creators exclusive control over their mental creation, aiming to stimulate creativity and provide fair returns on investment. Now, it covers, in fact, okay, it covers various types of intellectual property protection, which includes patent trademarking, industrial designs, and copyright. Excuse me. Copyright laws specifically provides the creator of the work a legal monopoly over its distribution for a period. Now, what is a copyright law, or what is an intellectual property right? Technically, let's say you you designed a shirt, for example, Let's say you are a fashion designer. Oh no, that's too. Let's say a song. You wrote a song. That's the best example. Let's say you wrote a song, right? And after writing that song, you patent it. Now, patenting it, or rather having the intellectual property rights to that song, means okay, you've registered that song to be yours, and nobody else has the permission to use it. Most especially for monetary gain, without your permission. You get. So now, uh, for people that have uploaded videos on YouTube before, for example, if you use a video song, or if you use who is a very popular artist, like, let's just say you use a video or a Wizkid song or a Burna Boy song or an Amapiano song on your video and you upload to YouTube. YouTube might just send you a notification that this song that you're using is not your own. It's a copyright. You're using somebody else's work. That's because that song has been patented. You get, and anybody who uses it or uses your property, your intellectual property without your consent, you can sue that person. But you can sue the person. So yeah. Now so most times copyright laws provides the creator. That's what it means. A monopoly, a legal monopoly over the distribution. So if you sang a song, you enter studio, you made the song, you have the right to use to only you have the right to do whatever you want to do. So if AI to carry the song, they use it to create something that they're using to make money, you can sue them for using their song without it. And people who want to use their intellectual property will have to reach out to you to use them. I don't know if that is understood. Now, intellectual property rights, IPR, please take note of this spelling. It is the legal rights over creations of the mind. This right grants creators exclusive, in fact, emphasis on exclusive control. Let me mark it red. Red. Let me add the red so that you read again. Granting creators exclusive control over their creations, encouraging creativity, and providing a fair return on investment. Now, why do we have intellectual property rights? So that when you sing that song, people cannot use that same song to make money. You would be the only one that would make an earning out of it. You get. So intellectual property rights confers the right to exclude others from the use of their creation. Now, what are the types of IP protections? That's intellectual property protection. Now, intellectual property, we have patent inventions, we have trademarks, signs, and mostly trademarks are signs and symbols that are used for mostly goods and services. Trademarks are mostly used for goods and services. Then we have industrial designs, ornamental designs. These are things like fashion of semiconductor, and then we have copyright. What is a copyright? Original work of authorship. So you are the one that owns the creation. You created it originally from scratch. Then you own the copyright. Then we also have the neighboring rights, and that is performed in broadcasting organizations. Then we have trade secrets. That's secret business information. For example, Coca-Cola has their recipe for making Coca-Cola. They cannot trade it, and if somebody else steals the recipe, they can sue the person. But then protection against unfair competition. Now, what is a copyright law? A copyright law is a legal framework, right, that governs. Let me highlight this. It's important. It's a legal framework that governs access to information, giving the creator the monopoly of controlling the distribution of his work. Again, like I said, you are a music artist or you sang a song. Nobody else has the right to use that song for commercial, most especially for commercial purposes, without your knowledge. This right is for a limited duration, after which the song enters the public domain. And what happens when a song or the work enters the public domain? Everybody can use it. I think in Nigeria it's 40 years, I guess. Whatever you created will last 40 years, and after 40 years, you can start using it freely. Then, what are the purposes of copyrights? Purposes of copyright. Ta-da. Don't worry, we are almost done. Right, almost done. Now we have the economic purpose. We have the economic purpose, which provides authors a good reward for his work, right? Um, Encouraging creativity by protecting against privacy. Then we have morale, protect the integrity of the created work by giving the author the right to object to any distortion, mutilation, and any other modifications for that, which would prejudicial to his honor and reputation. Then we have balance, which aims to balance the interests of the author and the public, ensuring public access to created products. Then we have fair use, an exception to copyright law that permits limited use of copyrighted material. So let's say, for example, a Davido song that is copyrighted, right? You are permitted to just, let's say, use let's say this, what's the song? This recent one that is, um, yeah, there's one recent song of Davido and Malay. You can use the intro, for example, and not the whole thing, right? Just the intro. But if you use it to make money, please, they would send you to court. So, but fair use, but and also whenever you use a part of somebody's content or whatever it is, be sure to mention the name of the author and the source, most especially. Just make sure that it is acknowledged duly, right? So that way, you are not sued or taken to court for fined plenty money. Then factors for fair use consideration: purpose and character of the use, nature of the copyrighted work, amount and sustain, blah 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 blah. Plenty. Then we have unit 2, plagiarism and its implication. Now, what is plagiarism? First of all, we can't continue if we do not know what plagiarism is. Now, first of what is copyright infringement? Copyright infringement is a legal concept, referring to any violation of the exclusive rights granted to a copyright holder. Let's say a Davido song now. You now go and recreate the song, and it is obvious that you recreated the song. A typical example is sampling of songs. But now, what is sampling of songs? A popular artist that does sampling of songs is Burna Boy, for example. Burna Boy loves to sample songs, right? And most of the times, she has to go to the owners of the original song to say, I beg you, I want to sample your song. Now, when you don't sample, when you don't ask for permission, and when you're not granted permission to use, that's when it becomes copyright infringement and plagiarism. That's copyright infringement. Now, plagiarism is taking somebody's work, you get taking somebody's work and then posting as though it is your own, right? So let's say, for example, the video sang the song, and then you now carry that same song, you do not change anything. You just go and write your name, you create banner for the song, and you start posting it and sending it and telling people that, oh, you made that. That's what plagiarism technically is. Hopefully, you understand. Now, what are the similarities between copyright and plagiarism? Now, one can plagiarize the work in a public domain without you know infringing the copyright. First of all, because any work that is in a public domain, right, is a work that no longer has that is no longer copyrighted because it's no longer legally protected. But copying it, you can be sued for plagiarism. You get sued for copying that work, posing as though it is your own work. Those are the major differences between copyright and plagiarism. Um, Now, in fact, here it is differences between copyright and plagiarism. Let me see. We have here, right? Then we have legal versus ethical, or more just read. Now, copyright is legal, while plagiarism is an ethical one. Plagiarism is ethical. Copyright is legal. Plagiarism is ethical. Now, what is protection? Copyright protects original works protected by law. That's it, one of the differences. Legal versus ethical is one difference between copyright and plagiarism. Protection is another difference. Let me highlight it again so that you understand. Copyright protects original works, right? Which is protected by law, by the way. Plagiarism covers any unattributed use, even of public domain materials or ideas not covered by public by copyright. And then we have permission. Now, one can obtain a permission to use a work. That's to avoid copyright infringement. But that same work can be plagiarized if the work is presented to be um, the person's own without attribution. Now, let's say, for example, you went to meet Davido or Wizkid or Don Jazzy to say, please, I want to use your song. Oh." Then after they have given you permission, you now use the song, and then you now go outside to start telling people, oh, you wrote the song, is your song, and all of that. That is a serious crime. Oh my God, I'll finally, we are done. Mm, Harvard in text citing and reference. That's unit 3. Now, Ha- Harvard, um, um, now, Harvard references tell, right? Harvard in text citing and referencing basically means or rather is a common method of acknowledging sources to avoid unintentional plagiarism. So if you copy something from somewhere or you use something that belongs to someone, you acknowledge it so that you do not fall a victim of unintentional plagiarism, which is punishable by the law, by the way. Now, this consists of two parts: in-text citations and referencing lists. Right. Yeah, here it says a referencing style, a referencing style that instructs how to acknowledge sources to avoid unintentional plagiarism. Now, it has two parts. The in-text citation. Now, this one is used in the body of the work when quoting or paraphrasing, typically using the date or author, the author date format. So when you write a quote, let's say for example, um, I am Indaboski Bawuse in brackets, you now write written by Indaboski on the year 2020 or 2021. Then referencing is now at the end of your writing, you create a comprehensive list of all the cited sources with full bibliographic information, which means you write down a comprehensive list of all the sources, then you list the the content of the sources that you've used. That's it. And most of the times it is located at the end of an academic work. So it enables the readers to find the original sources. Then we have the referencing formats. I mean, books, chapters in edited books, journal articles, ebooks, all of that. Then we have APA in text citing and reference. Now, another common author date citation style, most frequently used within social sciences. Now, general rules for in-text citing. Use only author's surname followed by a comma and dates in brackets. So if you write something or you put someone, you say, okay, I am a war, for example. If Indaboski Baose is his full name, and let's say Baose is his surname, you write I am a war in brackets Baose, comma 2030. That's how it's done. Now, if you have two authors, you write both their surnames and then the year of publication. Then include page numbers. Include page numbers for direct quotes. So if you write, for example, Okpala 2017, page 45, it's easier. People can go there and just get it, and that's it. Then place citations immediately after the information, but placement can vary for emphasis, right? And then if citing a secondary reference, if you are citing a secondary reference, for example, look at this example. Smith, 2008, as cited in June 2010. Only Jones 2010 appears in the referencing list. Then a full stop. There's always a full stop after a reference, if the reference is at the end of a sentence. So basically, technically, this is it about um GST 104. Every other thing here is Very, very easy to read. General rules for referencing journals. Do not write P before the page numbers. You only just write the page number. Italize the volume number. So number equal to volume. Then include issue number in brackets if available. With no space between volume and issue. Exclude issue numbers for journals with just pagination. Then general references to the upper style. Capitalize only on the first word of the article. The first word of the article, chapter titles, and subtitles. Journals and book titles should be italicized, and lastly, maintain consistency. And people of God, that is it for GST 104. If you have any question, drop it in the group chat or in the comments, or reach out to me, and I'll try my possible best to answer them. Thank you very much for taking your time to be with us. And then I hope that you were convinced and not confused. See you all in the next course. Bye.